In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to replace the thermistor on a Creality printer. This is specifically the Creality CR10S. I'm going to overlay sort of the issue that's been going on, but I replaced the hot end, and I think when I replaced the hot end, I may have damaged the existing thermistor, because what will happen is I'll overlay the video, bed will heat up nicely, the hot end will start to heat up, and then it'll get around 195 or so, and it'll just start to spike to really inconsistent temperatures, which I don't think is actually happening. So what I did is I ordered some replacement thermistors off of Amazon. I'll link those down below, and what you see here is everything you're going to need to replace this. You're going to need to know how to solder, or what you will likely have to do is then take the entire printer sort of motor component area apart, because you'll need to replace, you're going to just directly plug in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder in this video. So I'm going to solder this to make it a little easier and not have to do that. So stay tuned and I'll walk you through what we're going to do. But the first thing is we're going to be taking this off. All you need is a little Allen key to get this fan housing off, and then we'll be able to expose the thermistor. Before you do anything, be sure to turn your printer off, and I'm going to unplug my Octoprint so that it's killed. Alright, stay tuned and here we go. Alright, so first step, this is pretty simple. You're going to take your Allen key and you're just going to undo these two little bolts right here, and that's going to expose the hot end, and then we'll look at where the thermistor is. Alright, so now that we have got the fan assembly off, you can just loop it over to the side. Be careful not to break any of the wires. Now looking at the hot end here, there's going to be a screw right here, and that's your thermistor. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to unscrew that screw. It's a Phillips head, maybe a little different depending on what printer model you have. Then I'm going to have to pull back some of this sort of protective coating they've got on there for heat resistance. We're going to snip the wires, and then we're going to solder on our new thermistor. This heat shrink tubing I'm realizing is not actually going to come off, so we're going to be able to slide the white wires through for the new thermistor. What I'm going to do is bring back sort of this braided cover, tape this out of the way so that I can cut the two white wires which are for the thermistor, and then we'll do our soldering up above after we slide the new thermistor through. Okay, I've got the old thermistor cut off now, and what I have here is I have my new thermistor that I cut off, and if you hold them up next to each other, you'll see that I have the new one a little bit longer than the old one. That's because we're going to have to remove some of the outer covering on the wire in order to be able to twist these two wires together to solder them. So keep that in mind when you cut your new thermistor. Now that we've got the wires up and against, you can see how they're going to overlap there, and roughly just mark it out in your head a little about where you're going to, how much wire you're going to want to strip off. Now I'm going to take my wire strippers, and these are a little bit overkill, so just be careful with how hard you press, but we've got our exposed ends there. Alright, so I ended up having to strip a little more wire away, just in order to be able to twist these wires together because they're so small. So once you've got them twisted together, then you're going to heat up your soldering iron. We're going to apply a little bit of solder to these, let them cool down, electric tape them. Ideally you would heat shrink them, but I don't have any heat shrink that's this small diameter and going to shrink down. So I think electrical tape will be just fine for this, and then we should be back up and running. So we've got our soldering iron here. This soldering iron's a little bit overkill for this application, but it's what I've got to work with. We're going to tin the soldering iron, just get a little solder on the tip of it, and then we're going to go in here and carefully get some solder on our wires. Shouldn't take too much on either of them. Very skinny wires. And then we're just going to let that cool down, and we should be good to electric tape it. Alright, so I have got everything taped up and somewhat back together now. Looking down here, if you see, there's a tiny hole here, and that's where the tip of this thermistor is going to go. You're going to put it in, and then you're going to need to sort of bend the wires a little bit and reinsert your screw here. Just do it very carefully, don't over tighten the screw, because as I learned, it can cut right through the coating on this wire. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to get back and hopefully be running. Now the last thing to do is we're going to need to put this back on, plug our printer back in, turn it on, and get all of this tape back up in my case, and see that everything is working. Alright, we have got our fans reinstalled, everything taped up nicely. We're going to get the printer powered back on, and I will get a clip of the screen working to make sure it's correct. I also forgot reinstall your rubber boot that's covering the nozzle area. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave any comments down below. I'll do my best to answer them. I'll also have links to these thermistors I bought, which are a 100K model, which is sort of the standard for the Creality CR10S, CR10, I'd imagine a few other models. So thanks again. Stay tuned for more videos and hopefully some more 3D printer content coming as we work to repair this printer as well.